Hello, dear friends. Little by little, we are understanding the meaning of the world game in order to lose our fear. Opinion piece: Planet Collapse. The Great Crash of 2022. Don't panic. The awakening is imminent. It will last a little longer. The system is in free fall. It had to be done this way. Controlled demolition of the economy. Watch out for the next Black Swan event. Let's start. The Storm Rider reveals that the collapse is going to be heralded by the good guys to end corruption. Money is disappearing because the quantum financial system no longer allows the creation of fiat debt in secondary banking. This is causing more and more leaders in the Americas to challenge world power, and the oil-producing countries in the Middle East are reducing supply to the West. Ecuador has joined Sri Lanka as the second country to collapse, and the central banking system is in trouble. India, Malaysia, Indonesia, and several African countries have refused to follow the dictates of the banking elite in order to generate debt. India has told the European powers that they are no longer the navel of the world and that Asian countries no longer trust the European Union, reports Rafabal. Behind the global theater, there is a large amount of gold hidden in Cheyenne Mountain that is guarded by the White Hats in order to restart the monetary system backed by precious metals when the time is right to do so. No one knows when that time will come, but I hope it will be in this year 2022. This will last. This will last a while longer, says Puffiness. We hope to see all this change, but it's not possible right now. That's not what everyone wants, but it's the name of the game until some additional efforts are made. Continue to hang out with the film and don't get sidetracked. The good you did will always have a way of coming back to you. So, do good deeds and be kind to others, and the world will be kind to you. This is going to become very clear as more problems occur. The weapon now is with the people, and it will be used to turn the tide of the economy. It had to be done that way. The people had to see it and feel uncomfortable to wake up, and the people have to demand change. Shall we play one more time? What happens when you corner an animal? Asks the round letter on its return on 666. It is to say 24th June 2022. Definition: the word collapse means the destruction or ruin of an institution, system, or structure. An economic collapse is the breakdown of an economy that usually follows a time of crisis. An economic collapse occurs at the onset of a severe version of an economic contraction, depression, or recession, and can last for any number of years depending on the severity of the circumstances. An economic collapse may occur rapidly due to an unexpected event, or it may be preceded by several events or signals that point to the fragility of the economy. An economic collapse is more clearly identified by a widespread breakdown in normal market and trade mechanisms. The Big Crack. The big crash of 2022, according to the Nomad Economist. The rich are now dumping assets before the recession, so they can buy them back at 50% later. The seeds of the next great financial crisis can be found in current levels of sovereign debt. When the stock market experiences a fall of 20% or more, that is usually a sign that the economy is going into recession. It can fall apart very quickly because of how inflated it is at the moment. They are going to run the system until it blows up, and then you would have a gigantic default all over the world. The Fed has cut borrowing costs 3 times this year. The ECB has resumed bond buying and pushed its deposit rate into even deeper sub-zero territory. Meanwhile, governments and central banks promote specific indicators to present an optimistic picture of the economy, while ignoring a host of other fundamentals that do not fit their recovery narrative. We all see where we are heading, but many simply bury their heads in the sand so as not to notice. We are temporarily heading towards a Zimbabwean economy. European crisis. The European crisis, according to Lynette Sang. The European Union was at risk of fragmenting during the sovereign debt crisis in 2013. Is history about to repeat itself? One thing we know for sure is that we can learn from history, so our strategy is based on historical patterns. The European Union is again close to collapse according to Bruce Wilds. The conflict in Ukraine is taking its toll on the Eurozone and could finally push it over the edge. When you combine rising energy prices with stagnant growth and growing trade balance with China, you have a recipe for disaster. This is also evident on the inflation front. According to Reuters, the Eurozone inflation rate rose to another record high in May. Inflation accelerated to 8.1% in May from 7.4% in April. Watch out for the next Black Swan event. According to the Economist Survivor, financial markets are at very high risk of a Black Swan. As systems become more complex, there is a greater opportunity for things to break down. More complex equals more fragile. A Black Swan is an unpredictable event that goes beyond what is normally expected in a situation and has potentially serious consequences. Black Swan events are characterized by their extreme rarity and severe impact. Reset news. The central banking system is in free fall. High alert in anticipation of a stock market crash. People are starting to panic for fear of inflation eating into their savings, according to the X22 report. The destruction of the old guard is underway. The darkness is falling and the enemy is exposed. The dark side will try to fight back, but this will not work. Do not panic. Although much turmoil and unrest has been occurring, these are reactions on the part of the outgoing power structure and do not indicate a permanent downward trajectory for humankind's life. According to Judy Bington, there have been geopolitical forces that caused another delay in the completion of the global financial restart or reset, in addition to the mass arrests taking longer than expected. The delay added to the apologies. The leadership just needs more time. However, according to Fleming, the Iraqi dinar has been given the go-ahead to be revalued and placed on Forex to change its value. It is not known when the dinar will appear on the Forex with its new value. Economy. IMF downgrades growth forecast and sees a narrow road in quotes to avoid the recession. IMF's Georgieva says some pain in quotes may be needed to combat inflation. The Bank of International Settlements calls on central banks to be more accurate and nimble with rate hikes to curb inflation. Solana announces the launch of a crypto mobile phone. G7 leaders agreed to ban Russian gold imports. The G7 considers ways to limit the price of Russian oil. Europe. The European Union is open to discussing the idea of capping the price of Russian oil. The Union takes a cautious view of the Russian gold ban and the Russian oil price cap. The Euribor could close June at its highest rate since August 2012. Iran and the European Union announced the resumption of nuclear deal negotiations. The international community responds to Afghanistan's appeal for earthquake relief. Ukraine. Russia completely seizes Severodonetsk after the withdrawal of Ukrainian soldiers. Kiev comes under fire from a symbolic attack shortly before the NATO summit. Indonesian president seeks to reopen dialogue between Ukraine and Russia. Kiev recalls ambassadors in Lisbon, Tehran, Bratislava, Beirut, and Tbilisi. Spain. Spanish markets await June CPI in the Eurozone and the unemployment rate. The Spanish government is preparing a tax on energy company profits. More than 2,000 people protest against the NATO summit in Madrid. Thousands of people demonstrate against abortion in Madrid. Spanish and Moroccan NGOs demand an investigation after the tragedy at the Melilla fence. One of the first solar cars on the market in Spain is put to the test. Americas. Jesuit priests ask López Obrador to review his security strategy. A fair dedicated to the edible and is being held in the Mexican state of Chiapas. U.S. asks El Salvador to extradite gang leaders immediately, in quotes. The Peruvian government talks with transport workers who begin a strike today, Monday. Peruvian indigenous leader rejects the declaration of emergency in the Huampes people. Celebration of the sun god, Inti Raymi in Cusco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire. Colombia and Venezuela are on the way to reestablishing normality on their border. Venezuela creates hundreds of civilian and military teams to repair schools. Jesuit Francisco de Roux, Apostle of Peace and Truth in Colombia. The Colombian Minister of Health presents his proposal to head the Pan American Health Organization. Colombian José Ocampo joins Petro's team of advisors. Impeachment debate begins against Ecuador's President Guillermo Lasso. New reality. Operations Disclosure by Gary Goodman. We are taking back our sovereignty now. We will manifest a new reality where all humans are sovereign beings who are no longer subject to any control by any other human or other rights. And all beings on this planet will adhere to the universal law, which is peace on the earth, brotherly love, freedom and prosperity for all. We will all honor each other's free will and, in the words of Drake Bailey, adhere to the axiom that, in quotes, your free will ends where the tip of my nose begins. Expansion of Consciousness by Kenneth Smith. At this pivotal moment in humankind's history, we are facing a total transformation in the way we live and know our true identity. All the structures and operations on which we have depended and with which we have interacted are collapsing. Our society is in chaos, our monetary system is beginning to fail, and our governments are becoming tyrannical. Curious. 2 male birth control pills lower testosterone levels. Chimeric experiments. Mad scientists have been creating animal-human hybrids for decades, from human and ape super soldiers to implanting animal organs in thousands of prisoners. Commentary by Morgan the Poet Dog. There are conditions you cannot change. Rich versus poor, sickness, old age and death. Those who master death are very few, and you have to meet certain requirements to achieve the philosopher's stone which really exists. Protect your nostrils. The Holy Grail is your pituitary gland, the throne on which sits your higher self, the fountain of youth, which yogis and maharishis say is in us. The fountain of youth is your pineal, and what is supposed to happen is that the gap between the pineal and the pituitary is not empty, but there is a fluid connecting the two, and then a manna of absolute substance and energy is induced. Lab-grown fake meat by Dr. Joseph Mercola. The GM industry, which is funded, supported and defended by the chemical and technology industries, now seeks to replace beef, poultry, dairy and fish with synthetic biology, cultured meat, precision fermentation, cell-based products and gene-edited foods. Cell-based cultured meat is produced from animal tissue cells that are cultured in fetal bovine serum, made from the blood of cow fetuses. Cultured meat is therefore based on the slaughter of unborn cows and calves, which are drained of their blood while they are still alive. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.